Hey, Mark Willie, how are you, my friend? Happy BS Friday.
Dave.
Oh, the blue. I love it. Guess what, man? I am in Alabama today. How cool is that?
Welcome, Dave Cooper, to another BS Friday Live, brother.
I love it. I love it. I am holed up in a hotel here in Alabama and enjoying the snow in Alabama. Can you believe it?
I cannot.
So, as always, Mark, you have lined up another wonderful speaker. I have a very strong feeling that today is one of those days where we're not going to control our own show. I think somebody else is going to run the show today. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's what it's about, Dave. We find people that are passionate and know what they're talking about. We had Stephen Basic and Alexandra Basic just launch into the stratosphere last week. And we have a very special guest from BC today.
Oh, do we ever have a special guest from BC? And the reason I said that, Mark, is her coffee mug is bigger than her head. She's really amped up. I mean, this is going to be a show for the ages. I think everybody better sit back and put their seatbelt on because I have a feeling that this is going to be one heck of a roller coaster.
Well, don't sit back yet. You've got a like button to hit on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and
Twitch.
Greg Ugaldi's favorite platform.
That's right. He was there the other day too. You heard it, folks. Everybody out there, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, and thumbs up if you like Leonard Skinner. I think that's what Mark's going for. But we need you to go and subscribe. That's how we keep growing. That's how we keep going places. Because at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, the building science, building codes, and the tech used to build it better. We are seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and all the ways that innovative building comes to life. And today is no different because we're going to be talking about step code. Mark, you're doing an absolute wonderful thing in this world with everything you have going on and all these great people that you know. And I just want to give you, all the credit in the world because you just keep up in the game with the guests that we have on the show.
This is the point, Dave. You and I talk about it week in and week out, right? Who can share their experience, their knowledge, and then it's up to the rest of us to share that and to share our lessons learned, right? Our highlights, our lowlights, and all those spaces in between. Your lighting's better, Dave. Nice job. Nice adjustment.
Yeah, it looks like you got a little bit of sunburn, but that's all right. All right. So before we go ahead and introduce this guest, we have a surprise, don't we?
We have a surprise for our guest. It's something we like to do on the show, and this person, God, I wish I could see our guest in the fish tank's face right now. This person is not a stranger to our audience, but is a good friend of our presenter. So let's bring him on and let him do the introduction.
Absolutely.
Good morning, everybody.
John St. Omore.
How are you guys doing today? Looking good,
How
gentlemen.
are you doing today?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm excited to do this intro. You have an amazing person coming on. There's times where every once in a while you meet somebody and you just get this wow factor. And I was teaching on Vancouver Island where Cristi is. And, she was kind of there to learn from me how to deliver the program. And within minutes, I was like, you know what, like get up here and take over because you know way more than I do. So she's been involved in the high performance world, looking at the energy advising for kind of, the early part before people really took on and really stuck with it. And it's just an amazing individual. And we're really lucky to have her in the industry connecting, teaching builders of how to build better and bringing in the modeling factor. And we look at these high performance buildings where you need to model. She is fantastic at providing that information to her clients.
And if I can say, Sean, you look fantastic today, bro.
I was just going to say that. He's like the best dressed friend I have.
Fantastic.
Well, 2021, we got an all upper game, right? So I thought I'd look a little more classy for the show today, folks.
You know what? You always look classy. I think your best suit by far is still the snowman suit. Anybody that has the ability to go out and put that on and then wear it and look good in it has something going on that I probably don't have. So you got some skill, man.
Sean, can you take another sip of that coffee and just hold it up and take a long swig of that? Look at that, Dave.
Pat 475 underneath passive house accelerator. Where's my coffee mug? My goodness.
I gotta talk to Mike Ingui and we'll set you up.
That's right.
And your tie, the tie you're wearing looks like a Proclima tie.
You know, sometimes it's really nice where your products you can wear. So it's pretty lucky. So it's a vapor open vest so I can breathe, just like how our houses should take care of. You know,
does it let the moisture in or let the moisture out?
The moisture wicks. It's funny, when I first put it on, it was in a rainstorm. I'm like, oh no, my new vest is getting wet. It just wicked it right off. So
I love it. I love it. Or if you have a late night and you're drooling on yourself, it just takes it down and away, huh?
Yeah, or you had a couple too many and one, spills a little bit, you just wick it off.
I love it. All right, let's get on to it here. Who do we have coming on, Mr. Sean?
Cristi May, this amazing individual. I can't wait. She's a powerhouse, and you guys are going to be just blown away by her enthusiasm and infectious nature and just genuine, amazing attitude. And we are lucky to have this person in the industry moving things forward, delivering us the info on the step code, and helping out builders get themselves to be better. So just bring her on.
Let's do it. Let's do it. What is happening, Cristi? I am going to put you on top where you belong.
Hi. Thank you so much, Sean. Oh my gosh, you're getting me all choked up back here.
Well, you're an all-star, so I'm glad that they brought you on and let you talk about the step code and all the amazing things that you do. And we're, again, we're very grateful for all your hard work and your passion. So thank you.
Gratitude for letting me share, and good morning, everybody, and happy day. No rain today on Vancouver Island, BC, Canada. Woo! We got a break.
You got a break? Kids are off to school. The fire started in the house. Show us that cup of coffee. You got to show us the cup of coffee.
Oh, the cup of coffee.
I love it. Hey, listen, if I lived where you are right now, I'd need a big warm glass of something too.
Yeah.
It's colder where I'm at, actually, in Alabama.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, Cristi, we got a lot to unpack today. We got a bit of a presentation to do. You're in good hands with the Mark Bare Naked Willie, even though he's clothed today. And we got Sean St. Amour, which I am still waiting on my helicopter ride from. But I'm sure it'll all come together this year, because this is going to be a great year. So with that said, Cristi, why don't you take a few moments and tell us a little bit about who you are. We want to know everything from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. We like to hear everything starting at the hospital. Don't leave out any of the gory stuff. And Sean, we'll come back to you at the end of the show. So thank you for the introduction.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, there's just way too many adventures to be able to sum that up. But I will tell you, I'm a fourth generation Islander. So I was born and raised in a very small town on the North Vancouver Island. Again, we had our own water line and our own septic, and we had a wood burning furnace. So I grew up doing firewood my whole life. And I suppose you could say I was a bit of a tomboy. And as I transitioned through life, I learned very quickly that these jobs that were traditionally males paid a lot more. So I just kind of evolved and kept going and just taking opportunities. So I've been working in industry. Well, my first job, I started working when I was probably 11 or 12. Worked my whole life, started in the aquaculture industry and used to pump gas and change tires for tourists. And then eventually I went out to Alberta for work out there and got my class 1 and was one of the first women rig movers up in Fort McMurray, moving drilling rigs. And then after hurting my back, I got retrained. And so I took a program called Chemical Process Operations, and it covered power engineering. And I learned so much. And when I got work in commercial buildings. I was a building automation support technician where I ran 5 different skyscrapers from one control room. It was kind of like a Homer Simpson job, but not with energy, or pardon me, not nuclear, thankfully. I just had to run fans and such. And after I started my family, I couldn't work shift work anymore. So I had an opportunity come up to become an energy advisor. And with my power engineering background, I learned so much in the buildings that I was able to transition that energy or that education. So I was doing projects while I was working in the building. One of the projects I did was I trimmed our fan schedule. So we had 2 skyscrapers in Bankers Hall in Calgary that were 52 floors. And so on each floor we have a fan. And I figured out that I was able to reach my set points in the morning when I'd fire everything up. So I proposed a plan to trim the schedules by only about 15 minutes. But something amazing happened when I did that. I started trimming all the programs and trimming all the schedules down. And then I decided that I should quantify this. And so then when I began quantifying the kilowatt savings on our buildings, it blew my mind that I ended up saving the company about $30,000 in 1 year for the 2 towers. And so because I was operating 5 different commercial buildings, they asked me to look at all the rest of the schedules and see what I could do. And that really was the igniter. That moment was really the igniter of where I really understood every little bit ends up making a big difference. And so I basically became an energy advisor and started doing this modeling work and out in Alberta. And then I moved home and started my company here, and I got right into the code. I learned really quickly that we have some major educational gaps, not just between our builders and our trades, but also our municipalities and our building inspectors as these codes evolved. And we're going to go over that and how BC has really evolved, because we only got a building code in 1973.
Right.
So, we haven't even really had a building code in BC for that long. I mean, when my great grandfather was one of the first settlers here, that was in the 1890s. So, the island's young. We're a group of pioneers and individuals that want to go off and, just make their own path and make their own way. And I hope, that I can continue that with, the legacy I'm leaving, from the generations behind me and before me.
Yeah, for sure. How cool is that, man? Vancouver Island. I think you're the first person I've ever met that lived or even was on Vancouver Island that I know. So there's a lot to unpack in all this. So first, I want to know just a little bit more, just because my brain is like just blown. You were a rigger?
I wasn't a
pipeline?
rigger. Riggers work on the drilling rigs. No, I was a part of, it was called setting casing and surface drilling. So what we did is we had truck mounted drilling rigs that would go in. And so I wasn't a part of the rigging crew. So I wasn't a rigger. I was a rig mover. And so what happens is we'd move onto site, hook up to your trailer. There'd be a whole crew of us. So we always joke that we're always on a convoy, and we would move the rig and all the equipment into site. And then they would drill the holes, and then they would concrete them off, and then they were done. And so then they would pack up, and then we'd get the call, we need to move. And so in you go. And I started that in Alberta out of Strathmore, but then camp work started. Everybody moves all the equipment up to Fort McMurray after freeze up, because we have to wait until the muskeg is envision like a giant sponge. And so it's kind of almost like a mossy texture. And so if that is not frozen, no kidding, our rigs, our semis will sink. So we have to wait till freeze up, and then we go up there, and then in Fort McMurray, then we do all the drilling of holes. So basically riggers, drilling rig movers were on call 24/7. And up there it was in -50 with it was insane. And you'd literally have to wear a balaclava, and all the guys looked amazing because they looked like drag queens because their eyelashes were all ice and they were so long, and they had the snotsicles, coming down. And I'm so lucky because my crew is amazing. And I got to see the most amazing northern lights of my life up there.
I see.
I remember going on the radio. Yeah.
HGTV is going to pick that one back up. Drag Queen Truckers of the North. Canadian Drag Queen Riggers and Truckers.
Yeah.
That's a good show.
The word I heard in there was snotsticles.
Yeah, snotsicles. Yeah, they just go right down. Hey, Mark, you know what the great part is? If you've got the beard underneath the mustache, it'll go right down.
Oh, well, I'm all set then. HGTV, let's get the snot rolling.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we're going to jump into a bunch of stuff here. What I want to do real quick is just say hello to a few people to kick this off, because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of questions this morning. So welcome, good old Mr. George Ryman. I hope you are well, my friend. Good seeing you. We always appreciate you joining us for sure. And of course, he was already on the show, but let's give him a little more love. Sean, say no more. Oh, wait, Mark, I think I hear my helicopter.
There you go, Dave.
Oh, lucky.
I need a helicopter sound, right? Dunk, 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 dunk. All right, moving on. Alexandra Basic, one of the brightest, newest, and up-and-coming architects out there from Basic Architects, with the one and only Mr. Steve Basic, right? How would you like to have somebody like that to learn from? Awesome. Thank you. Right? Uh-oh. Mark and Dave twitching it again. What's happening to Mr. Greg Ugaldi, the immediate past chairman of the NAHB? We love it when Greg joins us.
Yeah.
And
So
we got Andrew Seeley, Passive Vest. You are a hoot. He's talking about Mr. Sean.
Cristi,
more. And who else do
I
we
wanted
got?
to,
Ooh. You know this guy?
oh,
Jerry McCahey from Integra. Good morning, folks. Good to see you, Jerry. I hope you are well. I hope California is. I hope you're living the California dream. I love it. I love it. One more here, and then we're moving into our presentation. Peter Melinar, I think is how we say that. Ice Road Truckers. Actually, Peter, it's Ice Road Drag Queen Truckers up in BC. So I just learned something about that. I had no idea that all those tough guys were actually drag queens.
Cristi, do you know Peter?
No, I don't think so.
Peter is very well established. I don't know what province he's from. He's a regular on a lot of the Passive House programs. Brilliant man.
Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
Welcome, Peter.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, Cristi, everybody's not here to listen to Mark and I rumble, so I should probably give us the BS pause and get into this. So, where do we want to start? Mark, why don't you start us off on the conversation, and we'll get Cristi rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So the joy and the reason for starting this year off with the BC step code is because a path has been established, and Cristi will lay that out for us. And what I encourage each of you to do is to really look at the steps that they took, the steps that they're taking, and see how your municipalities, your contractors, and your building inspectors and energy raters can come together and copy and paste, literally copy and paste what the BC step code is doing and where it came from. All the work has been done. You just need to copy and paste. So Cristi, start us off on day one and take us up to now.
All righty.
I'll begin.
Okay. Well, let's not do the step code quite yet.
Yeah, no, wrong. I pushed it with my middle right finger.
Down, Dave. Settle down. Okay, let's start with code in BC. So as I said, we got our first building code in 1973. And then from there, basically things evolved little by little, where our provincial building code ended up adopting the national building code. So that happened for quite a few years. So basically, it was generally about a year to 2 years after the national building code across Canada was launched that the province of BC would adopt it. And that continued to happen until it was in 2008 that we first saw some greening in the BC building code, where there was the first kind of literature in 2008 talking about energy efficiency and different requirements. From there, we got into 2012, where we had our BC building code, where we started to see things like the NAFS compliance for our windows and doors. So we weren't just talking about performance in our houses, but now our province was starting to look at wanting these performance on the products. In 2012, we launched, in 2013, there was a change So everybody is aware of the prescriptive path of a building code, which is everybody goes and pays like $700 and gets the big binder, and you just follow the binder, and that's considered you're complying with code. Well, something interesting happened. They offered a trade-off path. So a builder could apply for their own build permit, obviously with the prescriptive path. Then the builder could also, if they wanted to, do trade-offs where, say, for example, they had a custom home that had a wall of glazing, and that wasn't going to be meeting the R20 requirement for that zone. What they could do is they could show where they were upping insulation levels in other places to deal with that lack of insulation. And so that was the trade-off path. So those were two paths that a builder could do the work themselves. Then there was the performance path. So the third path to comply with BC Building Code, which was kind of like the first real opening to energy advisors and evaluating a home holistically based on building science, not only looking at the insulation levels, but also the mechanical systems, the ventilation. And as an energy advisor, our mandates are a healthy home as well. So when the prescriptive path came up, things got busy because all of a sudden now these builders could have an energy advisor do their permit paperwork, because let's be honest, who likes doing paperwork, right? So they could pass that off onto their energy advisor. So they reduce their administration. Their energy advisor would quantify their build, and they would estimate how much utilities that project's going to consume in a year. We can estimate, based on the costs of hydro and gas in BC, what the utilities are going to cost per year for that house. So all of a sudden, these builders are able to get this information that they never had before.
Yeah.
So that was really the performance path that we had in over 2012 to 2013. That intro then was really the first introduction, across the province for builders to really entertain working with an energy advisor. While we were always out here, there was no literature or an option in the code. And now all of a sudden we were a part of the code. So that was really like 2012. So, we're going back now, 8 years now, right? So that's when in BC, especially the forward thinking builders, we got those top 1%ers that are always my favorite, that don't just build to code, because you know what a code house is? It's the crappiest house you're allowed to build. We don't want to build those houses. We want to build a legacy house.
T-shirt.
We want to build something we're proud of.
Oh, that's a T-shirt right there. Do you know what a code built house is? And then underneath it could say "turn around," and when you turn around, it says "a crappy house." All right. So here's my question on all of this to start it off before we get into the nit and grit of it. One of the things people do not like is change. Builders especially don't like change because they don't understand it, the lack of education for it. When this change came to British Columbia, and there was an option for the builders, because you kept saying option, it wasn't mandated, or it was an option. It was, which allowed them. Yeah. How did it go over at first? Were you seeing pushback from builders? Were you seeing that, hey, we can't afford to do this? There had to be all kinds of different questions that came up with that.
Well, a part of it was education, and a major part of it was education. And where we saw the education coming from was the municipalities. So I partnered with the municipalities very early on, because the building inspectors themselves said flat out, the performance path, that's your deal. I don't have to know about that. You are responsible for the paperwork. And so that's my argument, was like, well, I need you to know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. I want you to understand the reports, because they're 24 pages long. And I want us to know what each other's doing and how I can help you streamline this process so that my builders can get their permits quick, And so that's where we saw a major educational component. So not only were the inspectors and the different municipalities getting educated on more energy efficiency stuff, but when we saw our utility providers come forward, BC Hydro was very pivotal in offering educational sessions. And so they were, again, those were funded by various stakeholders, the provincial government, various associations and organizations. And so we're holding these educational sessions to educate the builders to energy efficiency, the performance path. And a lot of municipalities or some of the service providers and utilities would offer incentives.
Really?
So what happened when that performance path came into play is they said, the utility providers, BC Hydro said, if you meet EnerGuide 80, which our systems change now to be more gigajoule consumption, but in the olden days we had a 0 to 100 rating. A 0 was a house with no insulation, no windows, no doors, nothing, and a 100 was a net zero house. So the closer to 100 you were, the better you were. So BC Hydro said, EnerGuide 80, we're going to give you $1,000 to a builder. So now all of a sudden we've got this driving force encouraging these guys. So I'd walk up to a job site, introduce myself and say, I don't know if you've heard about the performance path, but you'll be able to net a profit on doing this and getting these labels and showing how energy efficient and how well you're building from a third-party professional. Because
Right.
energy advisors, and we should mention that energy advisors are third-party professionals. We sell nothing. We sell ideas, concepts, upgrade ideas, and solutions. We are not here to sell anything, so that our builders can have confidence in the information that we're sharing, that there's not
Yeah.
a bias. I'm not a sales rep.
I love that. And the enter guide for the people in the US, that's kind of the equivalent, I guess, to Energy Star. And the folks that we've had on throughout the year, you would have had like Lindsay Out from Eco Achievers, Corbett Lunsford, Joe Konopacki of Insight, and certainly Brett Little. Those are some of your resources in the States for the testing and the third party knowledge and trainings that Cristi just went over that's happening in Canada.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right. Hey, listen, so I'm all ears. So you made it easy. The municipalities are making it easier for builders to garner the information and education. I think that's kind of a big thing, and something, Mark, you and I've talked about on the show. Man, if we could just get the government to lead the way, not dictate the way, should use it to their advantage, use offsite to their advantage, and other people will look at it and be like, all right, this is pretty impressive stuff. And they're saving money. And, if the government puts money in their pocket, that's good for us citizens, as opposed to spending all of our money. So I think there's a lot of value in that. And then having, folks like yourself, Cristi, that are out there that do not have a second motive to, sell somebody's window product or what have you is a big key to that. And that's kind of like our show. We're not owned by anybody. It's invite only, and we want to keep it that way so it stays educational. All right. I'm BSing myself again. Let's move on to this, Cristi. We got a lot to cover. You got a presentation, and I still don't really understand what this whole step code thing is. Maybe you can walk us through.
Okay, well, before I do that, I think we need to touch on something very important, and this is a conversation that Mark and I have had.
Okay.
I had the honor of having a wonderful conversation with Mark, and I was educated to the fact that you guys don't have your inspectors complete an occupancy permit and site inspection on your projects prior to being able to occupy the house. Now I'm like, excuse me, what? And maybe that's again a part of our the system that's been created, because in 2015 our province enacted the Building Act, and that enabled our minister for housing, responsible for housing, to actually have sole authority to set the building requirements in our province. And we also had the creation of the Building and Safety Standards Branch. and they're a part of our Office of Housing and Construction Standards. And so we have all of these different levels of government here that are ensuring that before a person moves into their house, they have been checked by a municipal inspector to ensure the safety and the health, and that the railings are installed, and that everything was built the way it was. And so I have a hard time understanding how that doesn't happen.
So I don't think that's everywhere. I know in New England where we built, you know, they check safety, railing, fire. You have to get a certificate of occupancy to move into the house, or you get some major fines if a homeowner takes over. So I think depending on where you live, and that's after 1,600 houses, you need a certificate or a temporary CO, they call it, to take possession of that house and move in, at least in New England. I do know in other areas, you know, that's one of the issues with the states is the codes are different everywhere. But in New England, you definitely have all of those inspections. You have 5 or 6 when you're doing modular, a lot more if you're site building, but they're only inspecting the code. They're not expecting beyond code. That's the difference. So, but they are checking for safety and fire, and you have to meet those requirements.
So there is a rough and there is a final inspection. Not all municipalities equate whether the final inspection is needed or have the certificate of occupancy to go with it. But to digress to the main point in there, if this is monitoring the standard building code things, what is often negated is the insulation inspection and the air sealing inspection and what is the ACH of the blower door. While it might be in a code, that doesn't translate to the inspector's checklist and to the closing documents that go with the house.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm it's funny. That's where it's different, right? In New England, you have to meet a certain air blower test code. Like you cannot, like there's things you have to do in certain municipalities. So that's where I'm saying I think it's a little bit different. And it depends what part of the code or ICC code they actually adopted. Some states aren't up to the new code. They're still working on 2015, right? And I think that's what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah, 2009 in Florida, I believe.
Yep.
And again, even if it is in code, and even if the contractor is required to do it, there's no handoff of that information or verification in all municipalities. And Dave said it right, Cristi. It's because we have all these different people doing all these different things, and what they've done in Canada, and they said, no, we're all going to do the same thing, right? Of course, we're in different climate zones and different building types. Commercial is a whole nother avenue, but yes.
I got a question. Hey, so I don't got a question. So we have the person who actually writes the code in the comments right here. I'm going to put a couple of the comments up.
Okay.
Because I think he'll be able to answer a lot of this. There's several of them, so let me go through it. Energy guide is parallel to the ERI path HERS rating in the IRC IECC. All right. And then he says, code enforcement varies across the country, but most communities with a code require inspection and certificate of occupancy. So, and then there is, Ryan said, the focus on energy efficiency requirement varies by jurisdiction. And that's kind of what we were saying. So it is a little bit all over the place, but they're working on trying to bring it all together. And I know we had Ryan on not too long ago, and they're taking a look at not only the energy codes, but they're really spending a lot of time looking at how they bring offsite construction into the traditional codes of building, which has always been another point of contention with offsite, with inspectors and stuff locally. So, what comes first, chicken or the egg? Because there was just too much open to opinion versus this is how it's done. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. I think the key thing is that, looking at the differences, how, our whole province has our building code. And yes, we have like 6 different zones, climate zones in our one province. So, the question is do you look at that and do you see what we're doing as it works or not? Because for me, having some consistency and continuity across our municipalities, at least in our province, to me is, I believe, a big part of our success. And having everybody within our province on the same page. And in 2015, when we've got all of a sudden we had continued professional development requirements for builders. So in BC, we have where our builders must take education every year for depending on the points, but they must have a certain amount every year so that we know that the builders that are building houses in our province are all on the same page. So I can appreciate that, you know, while you are fragmented between your states and even within your states, between your jurisdictions, that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for everyone to see, you know, what's working and what could work.
Well,
and that,
I think if we could have Ryan answer, and I know Greg also put a comment, I'll just put it up because I do agree with Greg. Like I have not heard that you didn't have to have inspections anywhere in this country to get or have a CO. So it'd be interesting hearing from Ryan, who does build to this code. You know, our CO and inspections required in all 50 plus states in this country. Is there 50 plus now or what? We don't know, do we? How many states we have, Mark?
Well, currently there's 50, but in the US we like to argue about everything.
Yeah.
So I'll just say 49 or 51. But the interesting part I heard from that too, Cristi, is the builders have continuing education. So what about the tradespeople?
We are still working on that. We still in BC have that educational gap where our builders, as much as we love them, they're not super proactive. So that's why they've mandated the education to keep everyone moving forward with our new codes and what's going on. Unfortunately, we're still navigating a solution to educate our trades, which is why when I'm on site and we'll get into, you know, the mid-construction blower door test, which is one of my faves, I always encourage them to invite their trades on site because, you know, I want the trades to be there that did the install so that when we're looking for leaks and we find leaks and we're like, who sealed this or who did this? And everybody's like, oh, he did it, right? I want to be able to be like, hey, bud, here's how you did it, or here's the product you used. This isn't applicable in this spot. This is why. Let's all learn together so our next project is better.
Yeah. In fact, when you play the blame game, Cristi, it's always good to blame the person that didn't show up because then they can't contest it. So that's why inviting is good. But if you don't accept the invitation, you will be held responsible.
Well, here's this, Mark. You know our great friend Jay Lepley.
Oh yeah.
They schedule their building projects by the 30-minute marker on where they are and how they're moving through their project. So there is no finger pointing. They know who's supposed to be where, when they're supposed to be there. So if you're still living in the world where you can finger point, maybe you need to be in a different world because things are changing fast and there's ways to track that. So let me just wrap this first conversation up with Ryan's last comment because I think it clarifies what you guys were saying. Code adoption in the U.S. is certainly complex, some statewide, some by city, county, some not at all. And that there is some of that. And my guess is that's very rural areas. That's not going to be your major metropolis areas, but maybe Ryan will correct me if I'm wrong there. But all right, so there you have it. That's what we have. It's confusing. So let's get into why we should be looking at the step code versus pointing fingers as to how we should be doing. Let's look at why we should be looking at what you guys are doing and see why it would make sense for us here in the United States and anywhere else in the world for that matter.
Okay, so you want to jump into the step code presentation then? Is that what we're getting into now? Okay.
Right.
Let's do it. Everybody can see it? All right. Let's click on to the next one here. So yeah, I'm just going to go through these because everybody hates PowerPoints, but they're great for giving some information. So hang with me, and I apologize. So we're going to just kind of go over the integrated design process, because that's a key part of this, the planning stages, changes to it, and working with an energy advisor and principles of high performance building. So essentially, when the stakeholders said we need a path and a roadmap to achieve net zero in 2015, and we want interim targets. That's what the stakeholders wanted. So this is what our Building and Safety Standards branch put together through years of research and development, through communicating and collaborating with all the locals, the building community, energy advisors. We were communicating. They were asking questions, they were doing surveys, all this. So this is what they've come up with, is the BC Energy Step Code is a path to get us to net zero by 2032. What does that mean? Well, we're looking at houses that are up to 80% more energy efficient. And that sounds huge, but when we take the step code and we go from steps 1 to 5, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like a big jump. We're all learning, we're all evolving little by little. And so you can see at 2022, we're going to be mandatory for Part 9 buildings at step 3, which is a 20%. So that's essentially like an Energy Star house or product that's rated to be 20% more energy efficient. Step 4 is going to be 40%. So this is where we are going, and these are our guidelines for the time frame, basically. So it's not happening overnight. This is our integrated design process flow chart. That's right. Might make you feel a little nauseous looking at all of this, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, it works. We start out with the design and the project performance, where your energy advisors doing up your modeling and you're taking a look at that. Then we consult on it. Then they do the paperwork for it. Then you get your permit. Then you're going to go out and build what you say you're going to build, but you're already aware of what step you're in. You already are aware of the performance. You already know, because you've already crunched those numbers with your energy advisor. So everybody knows you got a solid plan. Then the tricky part is executing it and ensuring that the project, of course, we have some benchmarks, and air changes per hour is one of the benchmarks we have to make. So that's where we get into the mid-construction pre-wall drywall blower door test has become critical to be able to identify the leaks. Like we talked about, who did the ceiling around that window and they're like this. Well, we're identifying them. And that's the key part, so that we can still seal them up at a time before we're into finishing. We want to get in there.
Cristi, yep. Can you give us a metric for what your ACH is at 50 pascals?
So it depends on what step code. With step code 1, there's actually no pass or fail. So the step code 1 level is an evaluation of what it is. So that's just standard. We get into step code 2. We're looking at 3 ACH at 50 pascals. As we transition up, here, I'll just go. I'm trying to think if I've got that on one of these slides or not. Look at you getting ahead of me. But basically, as we go up in the steps, and once we get to step code 5, we're at 1 air change rate. So again, as our builders are going through these steps, they're tightening their building envelope. And we've got a few years for them to make this transition, because this is a part of the plan. We have steps to get there. We're not just saying, hey, everybody, net zero tomorrow. Woo! As much as I would love that, and that sounds amazing, is it realistic for our industry? No, it's not.
And before we get back into the chart, for anyone that got scared, right? She said we're tightening our buildings. We're going from 5 ACH to 3 ACH to 1 ACH. That doesn't mean we are not ventilating our buildings. You will have an ERV or an HRV, some sort of ventilation plan, and the commissioning thereof, to ensure continuous ventilation in your buildings. If you don't have that, open the windows and call somebody.
It is so true because, you know, and that's the other thing with an energy advisor. An energy advisor is educated and looks at a house holistically. We're educated to talk carpentry. We're educated to talk insulation. We're educated to talk HVAC. We can talk electrical. You know, we're educated on all of the nuances of a build. And we're one of the few individuals on a job site that can bring everyone together to be able to talk the same talk.
Also, the guy with the tamale cart or the lady with the tamales and donuts, they could bring people together too.
It's true. It's true. It's true. We don't have as many of those on our job sites here because it's pretty rural. But basically, yeah, like the step code transitions from just that performance approach. It's the performance approach. So it's not the prescriptive. So it's not that binder anymore. Now you're working with an energy advisor and looking, and basically in the modeling, we put together the model like a puzzle. So every single build component gets put into that model as a piece of the puzzle. And once it's created, I've got my whole house built for a client, then we get to play with it, because then we can take puzzle pieces out and change them. You know, they're starting with a baseboard heater. Well, what's the difference if we go to a mini ductless? Let's throw that in there. Oh, calculate. Oh my gosh, you're going to save $700 a year on your heating. You know, and so that's very valuable for a builder to know and have his HVAC and his utility costs quantified, because now he has numbers that he can go to his clients, and numbers that matter, right? Utilities matter to people, because once the builder's done and they're gone, I still have to deal with paying for the bills for this house, right? So, you know, what affects me?
I like the middle photo, Cristi, and no one could see what's really there, but you were there doing the blower door test, and there's 9 or 10 guys huddled around, and they're looking at the metrics on the screen, and they're all engaged, right? They know.
I think I've got that photo. I'm gonna see if I can find that photo here.
Yeah, it's a great one. How we doing, Dave, on performance versus prescriptive? Where would you throw your ducats, on the prescriptive or the performance, Dave?
Well, definitely on the performance, right? I mean, prescriptive is code, right? That's basic code when you're building to prescriptive code, right? Typically. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, you could go beyond code with performance or prescriptive, right? Yep. It's just how you choose to do it.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's exactly it. And I think, you know, that's what we love about offsite, and why I did offsite all these years, because we're typically building above code. We're building better, stronger, you know, homes and tighter homes, and homes with dry killed lumber, not wet, moist, you know, nasty lumber that's going to sit inside my walls and make, you know, kids sick and family sick if they're not dried out prior to installation and sheetrock. So, yeah, 100%. That's my answer. I have a comment from Ryan, and we'll get to everybody else's comments, but I think these are all very pertinent. I want to make sure we just continue with that, so we don't scare the world out there. Ryan says FEMA study found that currently 65% of counties, cities, and towns across the U.S. have not adopted modern building codes 2015, 2018. This is what we were talking about, Mark. Only 50% of the cumulative post-2000 construction adhered to the I codes, and 30% of new construction is occurring in communities with no codes at all, or codes that are more than 20 years outdated. I'd love, like, Ryan, I think it would help if we understood, like, these communities with no codes. Are these communities, you know, like deep in Alaska, right, where there's no inspectors? Because I'm having a hard time thinking that this is the general populace of the country's building to no codes. I think it's more very rural areas where.
So Dave, even in Chicagoland, right? We have a big metropolis, and we have a huge spread of urban sprawl, right? But there's pockets of counties that do not play that game, so that maybe traditionally they might have farms or whatnot that didn't get overtaken by the developer run. But those folks say, hey, this is our land. This is how we're going to do it. But it also doesn't mean that they're only building to code. I know many passive house people that build on rural and agricultural land because they know that the inspectors don't understand what they're doing anyway, and they just want to build their amazing home and live energy free. So just because people happen to be in a non-code area does not mean they're not building beyond code. It just means that area doesn't have a code. It's important to note that.
Yeah, and even in BC, we have a lot of rural communities where we don't necessarily have inspectors, but our current BC building code is, again, the crappiest house that you're allowed to build in the province, whether they're being inspected or not. When you go in for permit, in order to do that, you still need a build permit in rural communities. And so I guess I'm confused because we have a blanket building code, and while we also have municipalities that now are demanding step code 2 and 3, I've got municipalities that aren't demanding that higher level. So our municipalities all here have to comply with the provincial base code as a minimum. And so that's where I'm feeling like there's some sort of a disconnect between your states and the authorities in your states and then the municipalities or jurisdictions, as you call them.
Well, I think there might be some of that, and I'm not defending it by anything. I think there should be codes for the safety and healthy of anybody that's having a builder build a house. But when I think back to even what you said, it wasn't until 1973 that you had any building code on your island. So that means, that's not that long ago. I was, in fact, I was only 3 years old. So what? I mean, there's still parts of the world and country that are just living in a different environment, and I bet on Vancouver Island, there's some serious local politics that happen, right? I could only imagine the old timers on an island and how they feel about newcomers and new things happening. We see it here all over the place. So I don't know. I agree with you, but I don't want to leave this that everybody thinks that it's the norm for 90% of this country. It's not.
Right.
It's not. It's a very small percentage comparatively. So I think that's kind of, I think, what's important for people that don't understand this stuff to know this.
There's one clause for health and safety, and a lot of that is, for fire and rescue of our community and our neighbors. The part that we're leaning on today is what are we doing about energy and verification and reducing the energy use, and how do we verify all these amazing materials and systems that we have access to, and bring the code up to it. So there's a couple little segues that skim from that, right?
I love these conversations because they're fun. What do you guys think of the audience out there? Good. Put your comments. Put them out there. Let us know. Let us know what you're thinking, because I think this is an important topic, right? And it's one of those topics where there's so much gray matter. How do you filter through it? And I think that's a big part of these conversations, and why we have people like Cristi on, and Mark and myself, so we can have these conversations. So if you're out there and you have some input, put it in the comments and we'll come back to you. All right, Cristi, listen, we're already at 56 minutes.
I know we haven't even covered it all. I'm like,
we've never used it, but we're going to use it right now on me. BS pause. We need to get back to our presentation so everybody leaves here with the information they came for, and that's the step code. I love it. So let's keep rocking and rolling. Okay. I have a flight in a couple hours, so as long as I make that, Cristi, we're good.
Perfect. Let's rock.
Love it. Hop in there. Here we go.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about working with an energy advisor, and I don't know, how many energy advisors you guys have, and what that looks like. But here's what it looks like in Canada, because energy advisors actually are mandated through Natural Resources Canada. So the energy advisor umbrella is federal, but then we work in our province and work with our municipality. So when you work with an energy advisor, the inputs that we take that we need are basically your building plans, all your HVAC specs, all that prior to the modeling, so that then we can put that model together. The key points and the key outputs of the step code are our performance metrics. They're called TEDI, which is thermal, energy demand intensity, which factors the energy consumption based on the square footage. We have the MUI, which is the mechanical energy use intensity. So the Teddy is envelope. The mechanical energy use intensity is only our mechanical systems by the square footage. And then we have our ACH, our air changes per hour. So those are the three metrics for the requirements in the BC Energy Step Code in our path to net zero. So that's
in the States, we will have voluntary process by the Department of Energy that is using Energy Star appliances that have gone through the process, and the Zero Energy Ready program. You would hire a third-party verifier, a third-party certifier to come in and do a home energy score, HES. Right. Or a HERS score, which is put out through ResNet.
Cool. Awesome. So you guys have the resources. I love it. That's right. So these are our main metrics for the BC Energy Step Code. Through their research and development, they found that we need to look at an envelope first. So in order to do that, of course, that's where we're looking at our building enclosure, because as we know with building science, the more we insulate, the more we buffer that heat loss and those outdoor temperatures, the reduced heating load. We don't need as much for heating and cooling when we've got that amazing ventilation system as a part of our mechanicals, and we've got, that high performance heating system. We can go with a smaller system because we addressed envelope first and the air tightness. So again,
I'm gonna just give a nod to Dave. Dave, when we're talking about offsite with Harris Woodward, this was the exact conversation we had. Cristi, it was a 40-minute conversation of what you just said. It is the envelope, and that particular company uses all electric, so we're very big fan of that because of combustion. And you approached it from the building science side, and this offsite manufacturer approached it from a cost and a deliverable of comfort and health. And so I just wanted to give the nod, Dave, to our 40-minute discussion with Harris Woodward.
Yeah, and Harris, the Finish Works is the company. He's not a manufacturer. He's a builder that's building above and beyond, and that's where the credit comes in. He figured out a system that he could put through a manufacturing line without disrupting their line or adding exponential cost to the consumer to deliver a superior product. And that's what Mark's talking about for sure. Yeah. Cool. Harris, if you're out there, I love you, man. All right. Good. Let's keep rocking. Ryan Coker said goodbye. He had to hop off.
Oh. Ryan, speaking of that, I think at last week's show with Alexandra and Jennifer and now Cristi and Ryan, I'm going to propose, Dave, we kick off quarter 2 with a panel discussion on codifying the code.
Oh, have a real discussion. I love it with the experts from the different states or countries. I think that would be a lot of fun. And we have been talking about this year is going to be a year where we start doing some of these shows, like Mark just said, panels and having these bigger discussions. I think that would be great.
Collaboration is key.
Collaboration. I love it. All right, let's collaborate ourselves back to the documents here.
Okay, let's keep rolling. We're going to go through this super fast. So, because I know we're already over time. But just so everyone out there knows, we have already developed our compliance reports. So this is a pre-construction compliance report that the energy advisor completes for you. So again, reducing some of the administration load on our builders. And now this has been transitioned into a part of the role for the energy advisor for the permit paperwork. So this is where we outline basically all of the data from the HOT 2000 from the model gets extrapolated out and put into this for the key metrics and the key details for our building department, for our inspectors, so that they know the wall assemblies, the insulation levels, blah, blah, blah. And again, we have complete flexibility here, my friends. So while we, our code minimum prescriptive would be, an R20 wall, we might have a completely different wall system because when it's evaluated holistically, it meets the requirements in the 3 benchmarks envelope first, Teddy, mechanicals, MUI, and then air change rate. So here's our documentation. So guess what? Like Mark already said, why reinvent the wheel? It's already been done. And all of these resources that I'm showing you here, hopefully we'll be able to share out with some links, because this is all for free online. Anyone can get a copy of this. So here's our mid-construction report. I want to touch a little bit on this, because this is where the energy advisor goes in pre-drywall, does a mid-construction blower door test, finds the leaks, and we get the worst case scenario on a project. So as long as the air barrier is complete, sometimes that means you're missing a window or a door. That's fine. You hammer it up and hammer something on it to just try to seal it up. We're there to identify leaks, worst case scenario. So when a builder says, I need to make 2.5 air changes for step code 3, we want to make sure that at the mid-construction, we're there or almost there, so that then when the occupancy time comes, they are not failing meeting that requirement. So the mid-construction's a really valuable tool. And then this is the Enter Guide label that we have in Canada for on houses, which shows what the house is consuming, the average house of that size, and gives you some details about where the energy is going. Design. This is critical. This is absolutely critical. I can't stress this enough, going back to envelope first, but the design. If you look at these 3 pictures, I'm going to tell you the most affordable, easiest, simplest way to ensure a tight building envelope and a low Teddy is building a box, my friends. As you see, as we start adding dormers, and in that middle one, we've got, you know, a bonus over a garage. I'm sorry, but that's an exposed area. That garage door could be open 24/7. And that gets really tricky to seal, air seal. We've got our exterior sheathing membrane where everybody's just used to going straight up the wall from the garage right up to the top floor. But I'm like, no, we need to stop that, because we need to engulf our building envelope and our heating area. So now how do we do that? Because guess what? These things are new. So now we're trying and testing different ways. And one of the ways that we found is using 2 layers through our top header above that, below our floor joist. We want to use 2 layers of our air barrier, one that's going to wrap up and one that's going to wrap down. Because guess what, my friends? You still want to protect that garage wall, but it's not a part of my air barrier. It is not keeping heat in. So I need to wrap that around and make sure that I'm engulfing that bonus over the garage. I'm going to tell you, it's tricky. And it's a pain, you know? So if you can simplify your designs, all of these steps in this step code is going to be easier. If you want to build a 5,000 square foot house with 11 dormers, 3 cantilevers, and 21 corners on your footprint, you got a lot of framing, a lot of thermal bridging, a lot of complicated transitions, and your air sealing is going to be horrendous. You're going to have a serious air sealing plan. You might even want to look at spray foam or something like that. So building strategies, design first. Simpler the design, easier it is to achieve. Now, when we're looking
at it better, that was beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Mark. And another one is looking at our solar, where we're building. You know, we're in the northern hemisphere up here. So I love this slide, because this was when I was doing the mid demonstration that Mark was talking about and showing the builders about it. And as we're standing, and I'm going to be honest, I was sweating my butt off. It was like right around my birthday. It was like July 18th or something. It was a hot day on the coast. It was beautiful. And as we're standing there, and I'm fully aware that the sun is in this high point for summertime, and I point and I look back and I pointed to it, I'm like, that is why I recommend larger overhangs. Now, that is a simple design strategy, my friends. Those are anywhere from 2 to 4 foot overhangs around that house. And look at the shadow line. That garage, that's a garage window on the left there. That garage was completely cool and comfortable. So was the house. Because just by designing a little bit bigger overhang, when my sun is up in there, we've got shading. When we butt that back, now I've got sun right blasting in. And now all of a sudden that garage concrete floor becomes a thermal sink, and it's heating up like you would not believe. So again, these design strategies are very simple and cost effective. It's just that we need to think of these before we start. This has to be.
That's a really bright idea, Cristi.
Aw, so cute. Boom, boom.
He even took his sunglasses off because they're so
Oh,
shade.
right. Future's so bright for net zero houses in BC. I should be wearing shades.
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
And then in the winter time, it'll still come in because the sun's at a different angle, folks. Imagine that.
Exactly.
The sun is always looking out for us.
It is, you know, and you know, you want to get really, you know, even more into it. You can look at going and planting deciduous trees where the leaves will fall off, and it gives you a beautiful scenery, and the leaves shade your house. So, you know, there's always options. Nature is our friend.
Let me jump to an audience question that's pertinent to what you just said about that garage, and then I want to run through and say hi to some folks because we're running over here. So, Peter and Molinar asks, are separate garage structures recommended?
Yes. If you're going to attach a garage, I would first recommend either you could attach it to the side, but trying to eliminate the bonuses over garages is really something that we're starting to see more and more as people are trying to get higher in the step code, because it's just another exposed floor, right?
Just create a breezeway. Just create a breezeway.
Or you can have it on the side as long as your air barrier has been built to encompass and engulf your heated house, and then your structures to the side. Detached is fine too. Having that building built against the side of it as an energy advisor, then what I do in my modeling is I say this exterior wall is attached to an unheated space, but it gives it a bit of a buffer on that wall, because now that wall might not be exposed to the outer elements all the time. So I would recommend either attach to the house, try to eliminate the bonuses over the garage, unless you want to do it a workspace that's completely separate, a separate building envelope.
The California building code allows you to convert your garage to an accessory dwelling unit.
Sweet. Didn't know that. Really?
Yeah. So people don't need cars, right? They have car sharing programs.
That's right.
They don't need cars.
Hey, listen, that's one way to do it. All right, Peter had a follow-up. Water soffits are great for the siding contractor, he says. Let me scroll up here to the top just so we say hi to everybody that joined us today. Folks, make sure I'm not missing anybody. We got Andrew, we got Jerry, we got Peter. Hey, Tom Reddy's out there today. Hey, looking forward to today's show. Good seeing you, Tom. Get out here. I love Tom, man. What a super good guy. Ryan Colker. Hey, Adam White, all the way from England, joining us today. What is up, Mr. Adam White? I hope you and the goats in your family are all fine. Love it. Love it. Moving down the line, we got some more. We got Ty Diepton, lead green associate. Love the tamale lady.
Is that me?
No, I think she was commenting on me saying that sometimes tamale people and donut people come to job sites. And,
right.
You're
the new tamale, Cristi. All right.
There you go.
That's right. You're the tamale lady from here on out, right? We got Louise Bezira. We need to educate as much as we can. Yes. Not only architects, engineers, trades, but also building officials. 100%. 100%. Yes. All right. Love it.
Louise, it's great to have you and your organization on, and Ryan as well. The folks that contribute and share, you might find them in your local city, that the people that you're meeting today. That's so guess what? Because of the power of social media, you can actually talk to those people because their link is in the darn chat, folks. So, connect with Louise, connect with Andrew, connect with Adam, connect with all of our friends, Jerry and whatnot. Tom, thank you.
Yeah, everybody, George Ryman, they're all out there. All right, listen, let's speed round this last bit here. I'm not sure how much further we got. We're at an hour and 13 minutes. Let's do it.
All right, all right. So, talking about air barrier strategies, number one, we need some detailing architects and designers on our building plans. Because you know what happens? Those plans get rolled out somewhere and everybody's looking at them and they're missing the red line. They need the red line. We need these kinds of details. And now we are seeing those in BC. So a part of this evolution again, and I love it, the comment about educating the architects and designers. You bet I've been trying to share these messages with them as well, because they're the individuals that are sitting down with the client saying, this is my dream home. Here's my napkin. And it has my dream home on it. And this is what I want. And we need those architects and designers to say, hey, I know you love that bump out concept, but it's really going to be more complicated and hinder the project. Why don't we just bump it out another foot for the whole wall or two or whatever, or make sure we've got foundation below it. So it's not an exposed floor. We want to make sure that it's not. So air barrier detailing, check it out. Tricky spots, decks, tricky spots. Let's get some strategies going. Let's get everybody on the build site that looks at those plans, seeing that detailing of the air barrier.
That balcony, can you back it up that slide real quick?
Yes, I can.
That balcony looks like a thermal bridge, doesn't it?
Oh, you betcha.
Wow.
You betcha. And so what's going on there, right? What's our strategy for that? How are we securing that? Now, I look at, and I say it all the time, if you've got anything punching out through, say you've got a big timber or a big beam or something, guess what? It's no different than a fenestration. It's just like a window or door. What prep are you going to do on a window or door? 2 lines of defense. So you're going to put, say your blue skin in there, and then I want to see 2 nice thick beads of caulking or something. So we have 2 lines of defense. When we sit that in there, we know that that beam is now engulfed and sealed just like a window. But yet I don't see it in the industry, so again, learning, educating, and sharing this information, right?
What is your plan? What is your plan? What is your plan?
What is your plan? Exactly. Okay, this is pretty obviously self-explanatory. Building envelope first. Again, Mark touched on that when I spoke about air tightness. Yes, that's partnered up with a heat recovery ventilator or energy recovery ventilator, 100%. And that also plays a major role in the mechanical energy use intensity. Do you want to live in a house that has a bath fan running 24 hours a day in conjunction with your furnace air handler, which is a big fan? Or do you want to be running a little fan for your HRV and just let it purr? And that actually recovers heat. So not only does it save energy over that bath fan and the big air handler running, but it enables us to tighten up our building envelope and remove that humidity and moisture if it's present. I have seen water dripping down walls and it makes me want to cry. Okay, so ventilate, ventilate, ventilate. And then you can go as airtight as you want when you got the proper mechanicals. Right. Air barrier is a system. Here's the one. Are you using products that have been recommended by the manufacturer to be used together? When you apply a tape, can you peel the tape off? If you can peel the tape off, it is not molecularly binding to the surface that you have adhered it to. So one of the major things that I'm constantly trying to impress upon my builders and crews, get an air boss. Have somebody on your job site that's there all the time, that's aware of the air changes, that doesn't just let the drywallers hack out their pot lights and cut all the poly.
Dave is an air boss, Cristi. He took the training. He knows you have to roll that tape, tape, and roll that tape.
Exactly. And are you using the right tape? Because I'm going to be honest, I see red tuck tape used on exterior sheathing membranes. And if you're doing that and I drive by, I'm going to take a photo and I'm going to share it on What Not to Do. So here's your little warning, because you know what? Tuck tape is not even rated to be used on exterior product or exterior at all.
Is there a website you're saying? It's called What Not to Do?
Yeah, unfortunately I don't have a website on What Not to Do.
Oh, Dave, we're gonna have a website for Cristi.
Yeah, I definitely would need help with that. I'm more of the hands-on, not really the techie, like computer techie, but
If anyone is
yeah, like
listening out there that wants to help create a what not to do website, now you know Cristi, and show us your gifts.
I know it's true. I have a long list, like 13 years watching, buildings evolve, just the concept of, are you using the proper products? Question for all you builders and tradespeople out there. How many of you have tested the products that you're about to use? I encourage my guys to get a piece of wood, put your caulking on it, try to peel it off. If it peels off, it's not effective. Test it, put it to the test. I know the salespeople say everything's amazing, but put it to the test. And what are you adhering to? Are you adhering to concrete? Are you adhering to wood? Are you adhering to exterior sheathing membrane? Are you adhering to poly? What are you adhering to, and does it actually stick? Is it effective, right?
My favorite question is when you ask the manufacturer, what does this work on? And their answer is, oh, it works on everything. It works on everything.
They
Oh,
lie. They
that's
lie.
like hiring a contractor and say, what is your specialty? And they say, I can do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah.
Great point,
Effective.
Cristi.
Well, we don't know what we don't know. And because we've used the same products for so many years and we were told to use these products, a lot of people are trusting, and they trust that this is the product to use. And so that's where I just try to, say, put it to the test. This is your house that you're building. This is the legacy you're leaving. Do you want to walk away and have the spray foam that you put around your fenestrations that you should never do, because spray foam dries and cracks? The best part about it is they tend to use open cell. So then as soon as we get a rain, because we live on the wet coast out here, all of a sudden around the doors, there's these fibers that are it's deteriorating. So there's no continuity in that air barrier. So check your products, just test your products, check your products, make sure it's, being used in the right place. Here's an example of when I go on to do, a site visit. Sometimes I'm asked to come and do a check before I do a mid. And, I walk on site and I'm trying to ensure continuity in the air barrier. As you can see, there is major issues with continuity in the air barrier. When we look at, all of these framing sections and these transitions, you can see where they were not thinking ahead. They did not have a plan, because like I try to tell all of my crews and all my builders, lay a strip of air barrier, lay a strip of your exterior sheathing membrane. Who cares if you don't have to tie into it? If it's not there, we can never tie into it. And then we have to Band-Aid, like literally Band-Aid, because now they're having to look at high performance products to Band-Aid up this air barrier and tape it up.
I got a question. So we keep saying about having an air barrier boss like Dave Cooper on site. But I think does it start with the construction people on site, or does it start with whomever designed the house? Because if it's not part of the plan, are we expecting the framer and the house wrap person to be the one that comes up with that plan for the homeowner, regardless of the cost, if it wasn't built in?
No, I expect the builder to come up with their air barrier plan. I expect the builder to come up with the air barrier system with the products that they're going to use. I would expect the builder to be the one to deem, say, maybe their lead on site to be the air boss, and it not necessarily be a sole role, but it be a quality control role that somebody is educated on, so that when their framers are starting to put down all of the framing, that they're able to be like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, we need to have a, poly to tie into the ceiling and the exterior, or we need something here.
Well, I asked that question because last week we had Alexandra and Steve Basic on, and they're not even teaching the architects this stuff, it sounds like, in school, being better and doing the air barriers and all that. So if people that are going to college and paying tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to be educated, there's very little education out there for the contractors, right? Like you said, they only know what they know. This is where the problem lies, to me.
Yeah. And that was an exceptional conversation, Cristi, because they actually every week they cover a job site and they call it the red line, right? Steve gets out his red line,
Yeah.
and Dave and I talk about it all the time. But that's an architect, Stephen and Alexandra, that they show the detail at the window, at the foundation, at the vented roof. They show every detail, and then they spend 3 days a week on job sites ensuring that it happens. So he's a building science guru.
Yeah.
Not all architects are capable of taking that step.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, for the people out there that are listening to me that are new to our channel or new to building science, new to, codes. I mean, it's one of these things where unfortunately there has to be some self-education going on. There's one of these things where you have to want to be better and do it right. And there's a lot of builders out there that want to do it. And, Cristi, you guys and others are resources to learn how to do these things, and everybody that's on the show. And that's kind of what I want to put out there. So when I asked you, the framer know this, right? Well, the architects don't even know it. So why would they know it, right? It all trickles downhill because most framers learn of a new framing technique from a new designer or an architect, or just an old school framer that just has a lot of knowledge. And I think that's one of the variables here. All right, we got about 6 minutes, so let's keep rocking and rolling.
All righty. So here's like what not to do. So ensuring continuity in your air barrier. So first having the plan, and then making sure that everybody on your job site, and again, this falls back to the builder. It is the builder who's signing off. It's the builder's insurance. It's the builder's responsibility. So to me, even the detailing in the architectural design should be stressed by the builder, saying, I want that section detail. I want that cutout, like everybody else is starting to do, or some do. So then we can prevent this, because then the builder can walk on site, or the air boss is there and they're like, buddy, like, we've got this detail here. Why did you miss it? If we don't communicate and educate, then how do they know? They're just going to keep doing what they've always done. So again, watching those details, watching those transitions. Apparently I got a blank one. Oh, and this is basically the BC Energy Step Code is the website where all of these resources are. There's builder design guides. There's air tightness. There's design guides for architects and designers. There's piles of stuff. So if you are wondering about anything that we talked about today, just check out energystepcode.ca. And I think that is everything of that one.
More.
So yeah,
that's it.
But I didn't know if you wanted, so that's basically, the kind of the Fast and the Furious step code.
I love it. I love it. It's so I see Sean in the background giving a thumbs up. He's still with us. Should we bring him in?
Yeah. I didn't know he was here. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, no, he's still there. You should have seen. I was watching him a few seconds ago. Doing a selfie video.
Oh, nice.
I think he forgot I was here. I love it. What's up, guys?
It's
great stuff.
It's not enough time to go over everything for the BC Energy Step Code, but I hope that I at least gave everybody like a bit of an overview and a path to the resources, so that maybe we can all get on the same page. How amazing would that be, that eventually we could say that both Canada and the United States is on a path to net zero?
I love it. I love it. Hey, let's throw a few more comments up there, because we got some really great things happening.
Yeah,
we got Emily Anderson. Hello, all. Happy to be here. Hi, Cristi. Feeling grateful for this opportunity to listen, learn. Thanks to all involved. Love the phrasing, leaving a legacy. So how cool is that?
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And then, hey, we got Louise Becerra in the background calling out our good friends at Siga. Etienne, love it. So I just want to make sure we didn't miss anybody here. Louise said a lot of stuff. Thank you, Dave and Cristi. And also he said thank you, Mark. I'm hearing somebody's background. If somebody has their phone on, or it must be Sean. He's new to the group. And then I hear, thank you, Mark. We are here to help, and thank you very much for all you do. So, got it. What do you think about all that, Sean?
You know what? It's fantastic. And Cristi, you said so many great things. I love the legacy house, not the crap house. Just a whole bunch of T-shirts we can make off you today. It was just fantastic, and just great stuff. Again, love just connecting with you all the time. I mean, COVID, we didn't get to see each other, and I know that I'm looking forward to that soon, so we can see each other, and I can get over to the island and see some projects and talk more about this stuff, because you just say it so well. Like today was fantastic, and I'm glad they allowed you to go overtime, because your passion and the info you have is just it just speaks so well. Just great job, Cristi.
I have
not everybody gets to go an hour and a half on this show. I can tell you that.
Got bonus Cristi time.
Oh, really?
I have a sound effect for you, Sean. I had one for Dave earlier. Oh, really?
Is it at my door?
It's coming. I can't. With COVID, I had to shut it down. So we'll get it soon enough.
I love it. Hey, so I think when we all go out to the island, maybe we take a helicopter ride out there.
See what we can do. Yeah. Hey, Vancouver Island is pretty spectacular. Going from Vancouver to the island on a small little float plane, it is spectacular. It's worth its weight in gold. So.
Hey,
I got to live in Sean's world. Yeah, we should all go. So listen, world, the hundreds of millions of you out there, Sean says it's the greatest place on earth to live. Let's all take our.
Hey,
go see Cristi.
I told you there was politics on small islands.
Yeah.
We like it quiet out here. Don't tell everybody how amazing
we'll
it
take
is.
them to Tofino, where everyone else is, and we'll go drown in the waves.
Dude, you can't tell them about our
It's a
secret
terrible
place,
Sean. It's a terrible place. Stay away.
Yeah, bad.
I'd be remiss if I didn't quote our good friend Andrew Seeley, who's a great supporter and a friend. Yes, please, on the stronger, clearer details, 100%. I think which would be phenomenal would be to have Cristi May-Sacht with Steve Basic talking about red marks. I think that would be an amazing roundtable. Quite honestly, for real.
Yeah. Did you mention Ryan on that list?
Did I miss in Ryan? Ryan Coker?
Yeah, I think Ryan.
Oh yeah, well Ryan too. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's bring them all. Let's find out what they're doing in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Maybe something's happening over there. Sean, you smiled about something. Did I say something funny with the PH?
Of course you did, my friend. All the time. Yeah, no. We're like everything else. We're always managing lots of stuff, and lots of stuff's going on in this household too today. So again, I'm glad I got to stick around and listen to all the great stuff Cristi had to say about the step code. I mean, it's great. I love it. I get that policy when people are like, "Oh, Sean, what you're talking about? It doesn't matter. We don't care about what you have to say." And it's like, no, it's coming. I wish it was coming yesterday, and so we would just be at step code 5, and we don't have to talk about it. So 2032 is the year that I'm gonna pinned it. I can't wait. I'm gonna celebrate when we're all there and we're at these high performance levels. But until then, Cristi and myself and the rest of us here in BC just got to keep talking to builders and teaching about air barrier strategies and getting them on board. And like as we talked about, you guys said, is what is your plan? What is your plan? What is your plan? Implement it, execute it, and build better homes. And then get Cristi to put on the blower door test and verify your numbers.
That's right. That's right. I love it. All right. Well, listen, everybody.
Look the test. You betcha.
That way.
Blower door is king.
Hand signal's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
No matter how long you do it, it'll always confuse you. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you for joining us today. This was an awesome, awesome conversation. It was a very real conversation, and that's what this is all about. And I think we should continue this conversation. So please give us thumbs up, likes, and go to that YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you are not following Cristi May and Sean St. Omore, please go and follow them right now. They are two leaders in this industry that you should know, and they should be popping up in your feed on a regular basis, along, of course, with Mark Bare Naked Willie and myself. So stay with us. We will be coming back to you on Monday. Monday's a big day.
Wait a minute. We're
going to have on. What's
tomorrow's Saturday? We got coffee with Dave.
Oh, did I skip coffee with Dave? I'm waiting for my coffee mug that says 475 or T-Stud on it. I'm calling you both out right now. We've been on the show a million times. Coffee with Dave. I'm telling you what. I'm gonna have to get Ghostbuster mugs.
6 days of Dave. I love it. Can't get enough. We give you the 7 day off just to relax, but it's Dave flicks and chill, man. Love it.
Well, you know what? With our show and then all of you guys' shows, I think it's a lot of fun. And then Monday's expert interview is going to be a lot of fun as well. We have Jamie Parr, offsite and modern methods of construction, consultant and advisor from BD Solutions, and they're undertaking a supply chain efficiencies research, starting with the digitization of the supply chain. So we're going to talk about the research that they are doing, and they are putting out a research study. It takes about 15 minutes to do. I reshared it just the other day. So join us for that. And on the 18th, Monday, I'm not going to go through all of our stuff right now. We have Greg Ugaldi, who was very active in the comments today. We are going to be talking about IBSX, which is just starting about a week and a half later from that conversation. And we're going to bring you some real great updates on that. Outside of that, you guys, what do you have coming up between today and Monday that you want to promote? And then we got to kick this thing off. I got a plane to catch.
I'm flying in for you to pick you up, Dave.
I would say look out this weekend, because Sean and I will give everyone an update of all the events in building science and Passive House over the week.
Yep.
And I have to say, on January 15th, Offsite Construction and Passive House come together on BS Building Science Live with Brandon Weiss from DeVal. You won't want to miss it.
Love it. Gonna be awesome. Gonna be awesome. All right, everybody. Cristi, thank you so much for joining us.
You.
It was a pleasure. You bring a lot of excitement to everything, and I really appreciate that. It makes our job super easy. I had to. This is the least I've had to talk on any show, and that's good. That is good. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you tomorrow on Coffee with Dave, 9 a.m. ish, because it's always an ish. I appreciate every one of you. I know Mark and Sean do as well. Without you, we cannot do what we do, and that's bring you all the best information that we can. So have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next.